reasons why we invited permanent secretaries was that since they are responsible for most of the planning, accountability, budgeting, is that we wanted to know how far we have gone on this subject matter, and then where necessary, where we have not done well, we can see how to go and improve or reprioritize in the areas that have been pending. I'll be coming here to present the findings, so I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. My responsibility now was to welcome you. I know my secretary, Office of the President, will add on, welcome you more, and also make you feel at home. But on behalf of the unit, allow me, before I sit down, introduce to you the members I work with at the unit. I have Miss Gloria Mwenge. I don't know where she is, but you can clap her in absence. You can clap for her. I have Mr. Gilbert Onono, who is our senior economist. I think they are busy trying to organize. I have Mr. Marvin Senkungu. He's already here, who is the task officer for this responsibility. We have David. Where are you, David? He's also an economist at the unit. Most of them are busy with some work, but they have really been very supportful. I also wish to register apologies for my deputy director and assistant director who have not been able to make it with us today because of personal reasons beyond their control, so they are with us. I also want to introduce that this exercise was done by different teams of government. I want to request the team that is representing the NPA to stand up for recognition. We have also received apologies for some other members from NPA. Thanks for coming. Members from UBOS who are here, from UBOS. I know there is a lot going on at the moment. NPA is trying to put together NDP4, so most of these senior people are engaged. UBOS is also very engaged with the activity of census, so they may not have been able to make it, or they will join us along the way. Can we have members from Office of the Prime Minister who are part of this program? You're most welcome. I think the other team was ours from the Office of the President. Are you here? Those who participated from the Office of the President, especially Directorate of Economic Affairs? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Minister and Deputy Head of Service, this task team was being chaired by myself, and I also had a co-chair, Dr. Mate from National Planning Authority. But because of these commitments, he has sent in his apologies for not being present. So, with those few remarks, allow me now to invite the Secretary, Office of the President, to come and welcome us officially on behalf of the Presidency, and then Sectoral scene. Thank you for listening to me.
The Honorable Minister of State for Kampala Capital State, Metropolitan Affairs, Honorable Chofato Gabi Kabuye, the Deputy Head of Public Service and Deputy Secretary to Cabinet, Madam Deborah Katuram, Permanent Secretaries. I've seen our senior Madam Berry, you're welcome. And then representatives of PSC, my senior Madam Edith Buturo, karibu sana. The Presidential Advisor on Economic Monitoring and the Manifesto, Director Manifesto, leaders from the local government agencies, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, allow me to convey a hearty apology on behalf of my supervisor, the Secretary Office of the President, Hajims Kakande, who takes this activity as not only an official obligation, but one that is his own, that is unable to be with us this morning because he's a bit indisposed, but on whose behalf I stand before you this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you very much for this meeting, and above all, thank you for honoring this invitation. Honorable Minister, I make no attempt to become a local pastor, but what we know is that honoring invitations is a biblical obligation. One of the parables of the greatest teachers, Jesus, rests on a rich person who invited his friends for a happy hour. And when they did turn up, the rest you all know, since we've been going to church, he was not happy. So, on behalf of the Sectoral Office of the President, I wish to thank you very, very much that you made it possible for the Office of the President to see you this morning in a brilliant form that you look like this morning. Karibu sana once again. Ladies and gentlemen, the activity that brings us today, this morning, is based on the midterm review, as the Director said, conducted by the Manifesto Unit to assess the implementation of the Nrm Manifesto 2021-2026. But also, some time back, we convened, and at that time, we were launching the Manifesto monitoring tool. And as wisdom would have it, it spoke to the new paradigm shift of where budgeting, accounting, and reporting had moved, as guided by NDP3, to the programmatic approach. We want to congratulate ourselves, because if I say the unit, it sounds a little bit cast from us. We want to congratulate ourselves, because the unit is now all of us this morning, for coming that far. It has been told to us that the midterm review was conducted in line with the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy of 2013, which emphasizes the need for programs to undertake regular reviews and periodic assessment of performance, with the aim of answering the key question to our citizens. What is the impact of which brings you every morning in the office? What is the result? One time when I was attending a joint borders commission meeting with our colleagues from a neighboring country, perhaps you will now get to know when I mention the name, they used to ask themselves that if you are a DC, you are a district commissioner, you go to office every day, what is the benefit of just sitting in that office to a Wanjiku? I'm sure now I've let out the cat from the bag, so that country where such names are given. So it is that we gather this morning to assess and be able to answer to the citizenry's question of why is it that I sit where I sit, and of what impact it is to the Mukasa in Kampala, to the Okero, to the Masava in Imbale, or to the Ruhanga somewhere in this part of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this activity is based purposively on the following key objectives, as we have heard, but which we wish to paraphrase again. We wish to assess the extent of the progress we've made towards the achievement of the theme that the political leadership set out in 2021 to guide the strategic direction of this country to 2026. We also look at the extent to which the manifesto was adopted by ministries, departments, agencies, and local governments as a basis for their policy outlook. We also assess the efficiency gains that we have realized through the implementation of the manifesto in light of the ever-dwindling resource outlook, but also in line with the new shift in planning, accounting, and budgeting and reporting, the programmatic approach. We also assess ourselves on the extent to which the national budget was aligned to the commitments that we made to the people of Uganda in 2021. We also take note of the actionable areas, the realistic goals, and also draw conclusions as well as recommendations on what must get changed, what must get done, when and how, and as to why. Ladies and gentlemen, the findings from the midterm review of this manifesto has therefore provided us, or will provide us, with valuable information on the development of commitments and the progress we have made towards their attainment, as well as looking back to ask the tough questions. This target has not come through. Why is it that going that way? This target we have overperformed. Have we under budgeted or have we under planned? So those tough questions will be answered this morning or this mid-morning. We have generated a manifesto review report which will be structured around the 5 thematic areas of creating jobs and wealth for all, delivering education and health, health and water, ensuring justice and equity, protecting life and property, and achieving economic and political integration. I would also wish heartily, on behalf of my supervisor, to thank his colleagues, the permanent secretaries, and the various heads of institutions who have heartily supported this activity by delivering and tendering timely information on all the manifesto areas. It is also our intent to thank the leaders from the local government, because we know that much of the service delivery happens and the planning at that level. With those few remarks, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to stop here and once again welcome you here and wish you and ourselves a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for our Permanent Secretary for those warm remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving on steadily. I just want to inform you of a slight change in the program. Earlier we had indicated that there might be several presentations from the various thematic areas, but these have been compressed into one overall summary of presentation that is going to be made by the overall team leader of the exercise, who was the Director, Manifesto Implementation Unit. So please take note of that, and after that presentation, then we shall delve into the plenary session. So now, allow me to invite the Director, Manifesto Implementation to come and provide us with the overall summary of findings from the midterm review exercise that we have just concluded. Thank you very much.
Please join me to give a big applause to the Secretary Office of the President for his welcome and complimentary remarks. Thank you, Marvin. I pray we will be following. So it's quite some work, and we will be going even where we have the claim we have offered summary, we may summarize further for purposes of managing time. So once again, we welcome you and thank you for sparing time. We want to recognize our members, the hero checkers, who help us in the dissemination. We want to also recognize our members from the OWC team who have joined us. Thank you so much, because you are part of this responsibility. So allow me, before I delve into the findings, thank the respective teams that we are working around the clock, make sure we are able to deliver this product. from the MIU, we are very, very grateful, and from the presidency, we thank you so much for joining us and making sure that this mid-term review was a success. You also need to appreciate that this is a mid-term review. We are looking at how far we have gone within the 2 years of the term, and then we can see what can be done in the remaining years of our performance. I also want to make this clear, and I hope I'm picked very well. First of all, the manifesto has two key messages. One is from the political perspective. Hold on, I am advised that the high table would like to appreciate what's going on. So I will now humbly request that you are at liberty to move and be able to appreciate. Yes, you can join these front seats. Okay. I want to join the back bench. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, and we apologize for that hitch. So I was saying that there are two key perspectives, and this must be understood very well. First, politically, this is a contract between the party in power and the citizens, because this is what, in the competition for leadership, this is the message that is taken to the citizens, and the citizens make a choice. So you need to get that very, very clearly. Secondly, the achievement or the performance of this gives credibility and also ensures that the party can win the next election. And I want to say that because of the consistent performance in this arrangement since we introduced multi-party, that's why the NRM has been able to keep in power. So it's very, very important that you understand that. Secondly, on the technical aspect of it, or the technical perspective, is that most of these commitments, when the party assumes power, they become a blueprint for service delivery. So that also calls for the prayers from the technical perspective to make sure that the planning, the budgeting, and the implementation is very considerate of these commitments. So, having said that, I wanted now to request the people who are on the machines to move to the performances. So, yes, next. In this manifesto, we had 5 thematic areas. The crafters of the manifesto looked at the 5 key areas. Actually, some of you may have copies of the manifesto. There is where they are talking of the unfinished business. Now, that unfinished business was what was looked at as the areas which still are necessary to make sure either the manifesto that has not been concluded in the other term is finalized, and what are new areas that can be touched to ensure that the agenda of the party in the next government is realized. And they thought about 5 thematic areas that would solve those unfinished business. And these thematic areas, there are 5, and I don't want to go through them. But within each thematic area, which is like at a global level, assuming you will find that there are different interventions being proposed under each thematic area. and those are the numerical numbers we are giving you. The thematic area 1, the total number of the proposed interventions were around 363. Thematic area 2, 131. Thematic area 3, 46. Thematic area 4, 32. Thematic area 5, 5. So in total, we have around 577 commitments that were put across under the different thematic areas. So what are we witnessing? This is the performance so far, the overall performance of where we stand so far. 35% we have been able to deliver on that effectively. 46 is work in progress, and 19 areas where we have not even touched. So in this respect, 2 years down the road, I can say, because all of us have been here as Ugandans, we entered into this term well knowing the challenges that were there, the post-COVID issues, and other challenges that were impacting negatively on our economy. Then we later had this law, which I think was also antagonizing some of our Western friends. This also impacted on the resource flows. And as you are aware, these are proposed interventions which will require some heavy financing that may not necessarily be met by the internal domestic resources, whereby we also have to do some borrowing. So this is the overall performance. Now, when you get that 35% and add 46, you can see that if we were able to deliver this, if we concluded the 46 in the remaining period of the term, that would give us like some 80-something%. And I think that would not be bad for a country and the performance of this government. So I want this to be clear, and I don't want media to start presenting facts otherwise, or bombarding my ministers with some questions that tend to divert them. These are the facts. So this question is answered. If you have another question, is maybe how are we managing what we have not achieved. So let's move next. So that's the trend analysis. This is how we are moving. You can see there is a progressive trend. At this 21-22, you very much know that within the first years, most of the business there is basically planning, more resource mobilization, and the rest of the things. So there is very little in terms of implementation. So that is where we started. And what gives that 11% score is probably completions of some projects that would have crossed over into this term, and this gave us some kind of jump start. So you can see by last year, we are around there, and this is where we stand as we move, as we mark our midterm. Next. So we have also looked at the sectors where there is really significant progress. You will see that in terms of the substitution agenda, import substitution agenda, which I think is under thematic 1, there has been, we are moving very well. The manufacturing sector in this country is doing well, and we can see most of the things that we used to import are being manufactured here. And many of you will bear me witness that when now you visit many of these supermarkets of ours, there is some presence of the products that are made from this country, which is a very significant achievement for the country. PDM, you know, as a country, I have Professor Kamut here. This was designed as a general purpose vehicle of trying to deliver on our transformation agenda, specifically reducing that 39% of our citizens who are still held within the subsistence economy. And in terms of what they had proposed to be invested or done, we seem to be moving well, and that is where we are in terms of 63%. That addresses the establishment of the structures, the establishment of the softwares that are very necessary, and how far we have gone on the pillars. You know, there are 7 pillars in terms of which are supposed to address the success of this area. So we have like 3 pillars which I think are successfully implemented. The rest of the 4, there is some work in progress. But the overall assessment on the PDM performance gives us 63%, which I think is above average since we are mid-term. Then we have the health. Under health, we have done very well in terms of disease prevention and control. We have seen a reduction in terms of malaria burden in this country due to mosquito nets distribution. We also see the way the government was able to manage and contain other threats like Ebola and the rest of the issues which were health threats, and also the infrastructure that is being put in place to reduce the access to health facilities. Although here we still have challenges in terms of personnel, but many of you have been following these issues. We'll see that the country the government has even advertised for recruitment of more health workers. We are also trying to expand beyond provision of the health centers, provide accommodation so that when these people are at the health centers, they can also be able to deliver. Drug thefts have reduced significantly. We are not yet to 0, but at least we are there. And MMS has also improved the supply chain of most of these drugs in the hospitals. Now, if drugs are put in the hospitals are stored, I think I don't know who to blame here, because government will have done its part. I don't know whether it's me or you people who are coming from the local government. It's an area we need to think aloud, so that we don't keep finger pointing to say, no, there are no drugs in the hospitals, but drugs were supplied, but the people we are employing there are stealing them. So how do we move on this? Food for thought. Underwater, there is a huge shift in the presence of safe drinking water in our villages now. I think we could be standing at over 79% or close to 80% of most of our villages having safe and clean drinking water. I mean water which is now through pipes and other forms of safe delivery. So in this area, water we have done very well. We are moving on well, and we hope that given more investments and resource mobilization, this challenge should be something of the past in the next years to come. We see a lot of efforts in the dispensation of justice. Here you have seen more members of the judiciary being recruited. They have increased their pay, and I think many other high courts circuits have been created across the country. Many more magisterial courts have been created so that people can easily access justice. And you have even seen the introduction of technology in terms of management. This also may go a long way in managing case backlogs. You have seen people who are in Mirzra talking to the courts here in Kampala through this technology, and many others. So for us, I think as government, we are very happy with these improvements, and it's one area where we drive pride as far as the efforts that have been made. The security of the country, you are very much aware that the country has remained stable and security, so we give credit to the security forces, but there are also some proposed interventions in improving this area, and we see 50% of those commitments being met. Implementation of commitments under oil and gas are also on course, and I think this time around, like they say, inshallah, by 2025, the first drop of oil should be on surface. Some of you have been to the Arbatine regions, who were here earlier. You saw, we are trying to show you the different developments, both at our sites in Kelenga, which is, I think, handled by Total, and Kingfisher, which is handled by Sinop. The CPFs, what we call the central processing facilities, which are meant to make sure that when the oil is drawn from the ground and brought to the surface, all these other impurities that are associated with it are properly cleaned out before it is pushed through the pipeline. And you are very much aware that a lot of investments have gone well in that area. So next, in the thematic area 1, which was for creating jobs and wealth for all Ugandans, this was one of the biggest you saw on this had the number, the biggest number of interventions, 363. This is how far we have gone. We have 16% achievement, 40% have been is work in progress, and we still have a huge chunk of 44% not yet tackled. And this is one of the key areas where the social transformation journey hinges, because this deals with issues of employment, issues of improving household incomes, issues of turning around the economy, and other related aspects. So for the MDAs who are in the implementation line of these areas, interventions under creating jobs and wealth for all Ugandans, we need to pull up our socks and make sure that by the end of the term, a lot has been achieved. Although I can see 16 plus 40, if we are able to finish, we'll be at 56, but still we could do better. Next, there are different proposals that were made in this. You will read through, we will be able to avail this information. I don't want to waste more time on the economy. This is how the economy stands. Next, employment levels, different interventions have been made. You are aware the presidential directives on skilling and the rest of the issues have really helped some of our young people who have not even gone to school, those who have gone to school but need these life survival skills. They have been supported, and every year a lot of them graduate from these skilling centers. The industrial hubs have been established. These are meant to also boost the industrialization agenda for the country, and we pray that this will go a long way in supporting employment. We don't want to talk about areas like tourism, where now there is a lot of need for expansion of this sector, and it will be taking on more Ugandans. There are many other areas also. The success of the PDM, maybe many people now will have what to do than looking for what to do, if we are able to take up these enterprises and trade. So next, over economy, we are also witnessing, I think the recent UBO study sees that there is poverty is declining, of course not to the levels we want it, but to me this is a very good effort. And we can also, those who are below the poverty line also have reduced, not significantly, but there is something to show. On the external front, I have told you that there is now we have moved very well in terms of export volumes that are going out of the country, and you will find that now Uganda, even within this regional trade bloc, we are doing very well, whereby even where we used to have trade imbalances before, we now have trade surpluses. So this is a very positive impact, and this fits well also in our ideological principle of regional integration. Next, accelerating the industrialization agenda. I have talked about, you can see how the industry has grown because of the different manufacturing and industries that have been established. These also bring both employment but also make the sector grow. We are yet to see when the mining, for example, the mining sector is sorted, the necessary policies and the necessary investments are done. That will be another area that will definitely move our economy further. Next, agriculture commercialization. You can see that the sector has grown by that percentage. A lot of support was done. Many of you know that the government, in terms of commercial agriculture, has supported many local governments with tractors and other various inputs or variation to improve this area. So the figures are here. You can see how this has translated into improved production in some of the areas. that are being talked about here, beef, milk, and the rest of the other areas in terms of production. This commercialization also, you will realize that also as a country, we used to have what they were called the traditional exports. But you will see that of late we also have some other what were non-traditional exports taking on a center stage in terms of our export base. So it's an area that has been supported a lot in terms of inputs, in terms of machinery, and other value addition equipment. And I think that's the way to go. And through that, we can also be shooting into an industrialization agenda. Because if the agro-processing sector or industry or sub-sector is supported, then through that we can be able to grow it further and it becomes one of the strong industrial bases. Forest development model, as I said, these are so far the circles established, and you can see by 2023 October 97% of these had received their money through the agreed channels. And what is also interesting is that the majority of the PDM beneficiaries are female, who are 55%, compared to the male, who are 45%. But you know, also the group, the program provides for youth and the elderly. However, as we said, this is meant to fight what the president calls Okora Echidatoka. So we want our people to get engaged in the cash economy, and through that they can be able to participate. And Professor Kamont will tell you that the moment this one is ticked, there is no reason why we should not be in the middle income, or why we should be worried that we shall slide back. We will be there and be there for good. So next, in the transport sector, that is what has been done. However, you see, this is just a summary. We have the bigger report which will show the performance of some of these areas. Many of you may be coming out to say, oh, but my road is not yet done, and then you are telling us this. No, we are just, even when you look at these statistics, they are not really very encouraging in terms of transport. And the other bigger report shows you actually the status of the performance on each of the roads that were committed in the manifesto, where we are, what has been worked on, where work has started, some which are still under procurement stage, others are still under design stage. But as you are aware, all these are resource demanding issues. So, but we cannot run away from the fact that that the transport infrastructure, there is something that we have done, both in terms of road, in terms of rail. You are very much aware that our meter gauge railway has been revived. SGR, I think they have now identified the potential investor. So anytime we finish the negotiations with Kenya, we can be assured when those connections are complete, we can be able also to roll and connect to other countries. The other day, some of you were watching the papers. You saw some team at Bukasa area trying to start on the new port, which now will also now improve connection of what we call the central corridor. So that the Victoria can be utilized. Next, this is urban housing. This is also another area which has grown very significantly, and this it continues to bring in more to support the economy through employment and other related aspects of the economy. So you will get these facts as they are. Next, science, innovation. You are aware now that we are proud manufacturers of buses. Our Chira company, I think some of you have not had the opportunity. We have a huge base in Jinja there, where in the coming years, the production lines for these buses will be set. And as we talk, some of these buses are already on the road and doing some service. The other day, I think I saw Science donating to the president, and I think the president donated the bus to Judiciary to help them in their transport services. So we are doing well in this area. And science has supported many other issues that will improve the economy, the performance of the economy, and the welfare of this country. They are all here. You can look through. Tourism, Uganda as a brand has been promoted, and we want to appreciate the role played here. And the sector has actually brought on board an employment of over 20,000 workers in related aspects. So they are also doing an electric fence so that the relationship between the communities that live within the parks do not now harass these animals, which are also a source of income. On the energy sector, this is an area where government has invested very heavily. We still have a challenge on achieving the presidential directive of this target of US 5 cents, which for him, which he wants to cut across. This 5 cents has been achieved in some cases, and also in a regular period. So it's not consistent, but the president's wish is that the cost of electricity for every consumer should be at this level. But you are also aware that this will also be dependent on how we consume any power. So the more we are able to consume, the more the cost is likely to go down. So it's important that we work on the distribution, and then these other investments that are coming out, the industries, the SGR and others, if they may take on. The other day I saw a tin refining factory. Maybe if we now have an iron smelting factory in Kabare, this could be big consumers of electricity, and we could be, and the cost could come down. Because at the moment, I think we are generating more than we use. Information and communication technology. This is how far we have gone in terms of fiber optic cable being laid across the districts of Uganda. Many of the MDAs are served, and the different police stations which are connected to the national network. So this, as we advocate for use of technology in many of our, even in many of our government services, this is an area that needs to be improved, and so that the whole country is wired and every Ugandan can be able to benefit from the use of technology. So we go to thematic area 2. Those are the kind of different interventions that were proposed in the thematic 1. Thematic area 2, this is delivering education, health, and water. Here we can see 34% has been delivered, and 58% is work in progress, and 8% is what is remaining. So we can look at education. These are the facts on the ground, the literacy rates, the different seed schools that we pledged in the different sub-counties, and under this program of Uganda Intergovernment Fiscal Transfer, this one had the challenges because of the procurement issues, but I think the issues being sorted, so we should not have any more repeated challenges in that area. The student loan scheme, this is how it stands. This is one of the pledged areas, and I think at one time there were issues, but I think now it has been fully restored. Pledging of the rehabilitation of Nrm Stadium, many of you are aware, and this is completion works, I think around 72%, and anytime, I think even through this we should be able to host this coming big tournament. All those problems that were there, including the judges and whatever, I'm told they were sorted and migrated, so that is very good. On health, you can see a graph on life expectancy. This is also a resultant effect of the different investments that have been done within this sector. Many of you are aware that NMS in Kajansi was expanded to deal with the available stocks, the Heart Institute, and the construction of the cancer in Guru, Mbare, and Barara. These are not cheap achievements. The Rowa Hospital, specialized hospital, this is moving at 33%. We are aware that all our 14 regional hospitals have been equipped with CT scans, and they are all there for us to see. And then there is also oxygen plants that have been availed, and we believe this has also moved us very well. Then there has been rehabilitations and renovations of the existing hospitals in the different parts of the country. That also is another landmark in the health sector. The containment of COVID-19, you are aware that we are one of the countries who ended up losing, at least, every life is losing any life is sad, but if we were able to contain this problem, and when you compare the losses that were made by the countries that actually are more advanced than us, this is a very, very huge achievement. And then the Ebola, which has been threatening, was also contained. You can see for yourself how far the water we have gone in terms of distribution. Already 70% of our villages have at least one safe water source. This is not a mean achievement. Next, this is geographical distribution of national water. Now, thematic area 3, ensuring justice and equity, we were able to achieve 22%, 76% is work in progress, and we are remaining with a few little 2% which has not yet been tackled. And through this, these are the areas, the key interventions we have been able to achieve in terms of the players in the judiciary and other areas. You can see even the non-tax revenue that has been generated out of these improvements that have been made. The appointment of the judicial officers and the rest of the operationalization of new high court circuits in these areas, and the appointment of more magistrates. Coming to land, this is another area which has been very, very sensitive. Through this, there is a systematic land adjudication and certification program which is intended to support most of our citizens who are still enjoying customary tenants. Those are the figures. You are very much aware that some of the titles have been processed. Uganda Land Fund has also, where available, has been used to buy off some absentee landlords, so that land is given to citizens and they can be able to exercise their rights. They can be able to access loans. They can now use the titles as collaterals because now they are bona fide owners of these lands, and the certificates so far which have been issued are there. And under the National Land System Enhancement Project, there is also a program of how we can register customary land ownership since it is on our statute books. So area 4, protecting life and property, this is largely security. You can look through and see how far we have done in terms of managing crime. I think the whole country is very peaceful, apart from a few threats of, I think the challenge now is on the cyber. I think this is one of the areas where we have a big threat. But government, I see government has come up very strongly in ensuring that that is also addressed. Many of you have seen what is happening to our banks. The other day I was reading a report that even the government systems are being attacked, and other even money mobile platforms. So this is, I think, one of the areas where the government needs to put up enough effort. In terms of professionalization, government continues to recruit and add up numbers so that we can be able to reduce the security to citizen ratios. The country has joined, now Karamoja is very stable, is coming back to normal, with the issues of the rustling being contained. The government is also starting the implementation of the Intelligent Transport Management System. This will help tracking those vehicles or other forms of that are involved in crime-related instances. We have one of the best forensic laboratories in the country at Naguru, and this is used to be able to tell by exactness on who is involved. And I haven't visited it. I don't know whether it can also tell at what time. Then we also have the existing government and laboratory. All these are heavy investments that are being made by government to make sure that its citizens live in a very peaceful environment. Or in case they are disturbed, then we know where to go. So if the labs are there, the investigation is thorough. We have supported the judiciary. We have enough judicial officers in the court systems. Then we should not have a problem why Ugandans should not be able to get the justice. Secondly, in terms of investment climate, people would also want to know, if I go and invest my money in Uganda and something happens to me, where do I report to? So the presence of this strong infrastructure of judiciary in terms of investigating machinery, judicial officers, gives also investor confidence. The last area, which is the thematic area, was about achieving economic and political integration. This had the least interventions. I think largely we can talk that within this very period of time, we were able to receive some new members into the bloc, which promotes the big idea of creating a bigger market. I think this is Congo and Somalia who have come on board. Then we also, as a government, initiated some bilateral initiatives with the the Democratic Republic of Congo for purposes of promoting intertrade across these two countries. And this how far we have gone, I think, on the construction of that. Lastly, there are cost-cutting challenges which I think are affecting the implementation of the manifesto generally. Some will also be hearing from you, but these are what we have observed. Land acquisition is still a huge challenge. We are aware that most of these projects, they need corridors, they need where to pass through, whether it's road, whether it's water, or electricity. They need where to pass, and that's land. And you know that land in this country constitutionally belongs to the citizens. And this has called for compensations. Compensations have now demanded more than the money which is needed for the project. That has also become a breeding ground for corruption and all other related, even delays of implementation of these projects. So land acquisition is still a challenge. Then we also witness that sometimes some MDAs don't prioritize these commitments, so that this now demands going forward on looking at how your budgets, your plans are also aligned to the manifesto commitments. You are aware, as a country, we want a lot, we have a lot, and we want a lot to achieve and deliver on, but we have limited resource envelope. We have even seen the current scenario in the country where people are still quarreling with the systems that are meant to streamline tax administration. And as we battle with improved tax administration, definitely we need more resources to support all these projects. We have a slow mindset change to enable service delivery. This cuts across. Even us, I think we have problems with our mindset change. Even when we occupy these offices, we have our citizens there who have issues on uptake of government programs. They need to be guided, they need to be helped. The person who is supposed to help them is also misguided. So it's a cycle, it's a catalog of a problem. High levels of corruption, this one I don't need to emphasize, all of you know. And I think the faster we dealt with this monster, the better for our future generation. We have transitional challenges, you know. In this coming term, that's when government was also introducing the program-based budgeting and planning, and this was new. It had its own demands. It had to change the whole architecture of physical arrangement. So all these were challenges that probably could have impacted on the performance that we are putting here. The cost of doing business is still high, and that impacts the level of absorption and also how our people can take up some of these private and private sector-led implementations, especially in this when the power is still high, the cost of capital is still high. Those will impact us definitely when it comes to the areas that need private sector participation. We have a high debt burden. We are very much aware that I think we have hit our ceiling, but this is largely because of what I have said, that we need a lot to be done, and we also have a lot to be done, and all these need resources. So sometimes we have to recourse to where the domestic internal revenues don't support. We definitely have to recourse to borrowing to make sure that these commitments are met. So that is the summary of the findings of the midterm review. We have bigger reports which will be coming through, I think, after the debate with you and the validations. This is a validation meeting. We are sorry for calling it a launch. It is a validation meeting because the launch was done some time back. So we should be able to harmonize and then give a comprehensive report of the status of performance of the manifesto commitment in this country. With those remarks, before probably I take off, I once again want to invite the people who are at the high table, please resume your seats, and then I conclude. So I take pleasure to invite you to resume your seats. And then I say, for God and my country, thank you very much for listening to me. Martin? Sir.
Another round of applause to the Director for having led us through the midterm review findings. Indeed, it has been a long one, but a very eye-catching one. Thank you very much, sir. As he has mentioned, this is an excerpt from a wider and bigger report, and there are so many summaries that we've done to generate these summary findings. And we are here all to validate this and ensure that we stick to it comprehensively. I also want to mention the fact that on 5th March, we also launched the monitoring tool for reporting, a reporting tool for the manifesto, where various ministries, departments, and agencies are loading their information relating to the performance of the manifesto. And I must say that as we are going forward towards the Manifesto Week, which is starting on the 14th to the 31st of May, we expect more MDS to log into this tool and provide us information relating to the performance specifically. But right now, after the Manifesto midterm review, this is where we stand. And I want to thank you very much, Mr. Willis Bashasha, for having led the team towards this successful completion of the exercise. Another round of applause for him. So members, right now we are heading towards a small plenary discussion, and we shall do this expeditiously to ensure that we manage time. But I'm sure many of you want to ask some questions and clarifications on the findings that you've received, and I'll be happy to receive around 5 to 10 hands so that we manage the whole process. So can I see any hands that may have? But before we go there, maybe Professor Kamuntu, who has been also the Senior Presidential Advisor on the Manifesto and Economic Affairs, so you may want to have maybe an addition, 1 or 2 comments to this as we
we welcome other participants to say a word or two. Professor, just one or two.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. I want to express my appreciation to the Director for the initiative of having this review and also of attempting to think out of the box. I particularly appreciate the findings. If I can draw attention, colleagues, to something which is very dear to most of us, is on page on page 7. On page 7 on the economy. This is very endearing. If you stretch your minds back to 1986 and you see the 10-point program number 5, promising the country to build an independent, integrated, and self-sustaining economy. A self-sustaining economy is an economy that moves or grows on its own steam, and it must clearly be out of third world category. You can't be self-sustaining country and be classified as third world. Now, when you look at this one, for the first time in our history ever, Uganda is becoming a middle-income country. I think we deserve a clap. Really, this is a great achievement. And for everyone who has made a contribution to this goal, we applaud him. We have. Now, coming to the technical issues, this is a validation exercise. So, validation, to me, we would want to see the tool you use to arrive at these conclusions you have put in the report. Maybe some technical person who did it. In other words, you want to show what you have done now is different from what we were doing previously. Because previously, ministers would come and make a statement on the extent which they have achieved in Manifesto, and would score them either 40%, 30%, whatever percentage. In your case, you have taken a macro, a big picture on your own, and went in the field to verify, to have some resource, the metric data captured in some tool, and out of this, you have come with these conclusions. So, as a validation, I think we would need somebody to tell us the tool he used in arriving at these conclusions. But in some instances, there are challenges you have pointed out which remain enduring. For some of us who have been in this exercise, if you look at the unfinished agenda which you referred to in the manifesto, the key areas are being addressed. One key one is to lift this huge proportion of Ugandans in subsistence economy. I want colleagues to appreciate that once you have so many of your people in subsistence, that means this subsistence are the guys who are not paying tax. And when you see an outcry right now, is just a small percentage is bearing the burden of paying tax for the rest of those guys who are not paying tax. It is even worse, because those guys who have no income cannot even benefit from the program the government has embarked on. Whether it is education, he can't access it, he doesn't have money. Whether it is health, he can't access it. Whether it is electricity, he can't connect it. Whether it is water, he can't have it. So this is a heavy burden. And I'm pleased, Director, you have singled out one of the most pressing challenges for this country to sustain the middle income status achieved is to move all these subsistence portion of our population out of subsistence. It is a do or die. It is really do or die. And so far in your reports, we have been in the field. The program is working, but there are still some challenges. Only that, again, you have pointed out when it comes to cost-cutting. When it comes to cost-cutting challenges, it is very true. Land acquisition and right access to land is one of the most costly exercises, and my colleague minister would appreciate this. Every project, virtually, where you need access to land, the time you take to negotiate access, the cost involved, and if you have borrowed money, money is on the account not being disbursed, you are incurring the cost on it, and what is not being done, which calls back the fundamental issue of land ownership in this country. Most countries, land is owned by the state. You use it at the pleasure of the state. But in our case, land belongs to the people. This needs to change. It's a constitutional matter, but it keeps coming and it is not going. Then, the area on which, again, you have mentioned, but I should add, when it comes to the cost of doing business in Uganda being high, the implication is that this one also lowers our competitiveness in the regional market. Our products become non-competitive because of high cost. And the high cost includes high cost of credit. If you go to borrowing banks, the rate of borrowing is still very high. The cost of transport. Uganda is a, whatever word you want to use, is a landlocked country. Even if it is land-linked, it means your access to the sea is not within your control, and you are transiting through other people's lands. It is costly. We have had a huge difficulty of road transport competing with rail. Those who transport with vehicles don't want rail transport because it takes away their business. Consequently, our standard gauge railway is a problem. The problem because of this competitive interest of those with vehicles. Finally, you have mentioned something which again is a very ticklish issue. The high level of corruption is a real challenge. It's something, if you can stretch your, maybe you didn't capture it, but if you were to list what they call white elephants, projects that started, white elephants projects, you would see the magnitude of corruption and how it is eroding our efforts to take off. But otherwise, I really thank the efforts you have put in this, and we would want to see that the tool we have developed also has an element of continuous assessment for us to reach, to monitor. You know, you have scored and you have put their percentages of what has been implemented, and what has started, and what has got. Now, the thing we want to do is to monitor those that are in progress, to monitor those that have not started, so that as we move towards 2026, sure enough, you have implemented the commitment you made to the population. My final comment, this is a political one. If Uganda's population civil education was the mark, the civilians or civil society or the electoral society should renew the mandate of any, let me just step back a bit. In a multi-party political system, we separate government from the party, the ruling party. And the ruling party can only continue to rule if it continues to fulfill the social contract it has entered with the population. Only when you have fulfilled the pledges should you be justified to seek a new mandate. it is very critical, and I thank you, Director, it is very, very critical that NRM, the ruling party, is not only seen, but it is done. It does. It's not only seen to be doing what it promised, but it has really done it. And we think the previous mandates has been done because we fulfill our commitments, and we want to do the same on this manifesto. This manifesto for us was indeed a last one to enable the country to achieve the self-sustaining growth. And we think we're on the track, and we must do everything, not slide back. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for those insightful comments to this whole exercise, and that indeed gives us a good momentum into the discussions on the validation of the findings. Indeed, you've raised a number of pertinent issues, and I'm sure we shall be able to provide you with the answers. Some of them have been observations and comments, and we really want to thank you for that. I also want to first emphasize the fact that Professor and members, this exercise was done by a team which was multi-sectoral. As earlier on mentioned, that we had members from the National Planning Authority, we had members from the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Finance, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, KCCA, and as well as a team from the Office of the President for oversight function. And indeed, they developed a number of data collection tools, and they did a number of field exercises to arrive at the findings that we are having. As earlier on mentioned, there is a whole pool of information that we could not project here for purposes of presentation, but it is there are summary documents and bigger documents that are available, and the tools are also available. At the later time, after this validation, we shall provide you with all this information. So now I want to see some other hands that are interested in having comments. Can I see the hands? Then we see how to moderate this. Okay, so we only have one hand. We have two. We have three. Yes, we have four. So let's take those first four hands, and then we proceed with the other comments and discussion. Thank you very much. Can we have the mic to you, sir? You introduce yourself and...
Thank you, Marvin. I'm Dr. Xari James, part of the OWC team that is here. I first of all want to commend Director Bashasha for the presentation that you've made. That gives us an insight of how we are performing as a government in as far as the implementation of the manifesto is concerned. There are quite a number of issues that you have shared, but let me first concur with Professor Ephraim's comment, because as it is said that the devil's in the details, I would definitely also have loved to know the tool that was used to arrive at these performance metrics. As it is, and as all of us have observed, you will note that all these are quantitative indicators, and the results point more on the quantitative. But also it would have been good to look at both qualitative and quantitative aspects, because sometimes when you base only on the quantitative, it may not give us a clear picture of what is on the ground. For example, allow me just focus myself on the PDM. That's my interest, because I come from Budaka, and that's a district where the president picked that famous word he uses almost in all his discussions, Nkolera Kida, you know. And anything that is presented on PDM, of course, touches me directly, because I know what goes on there on the ground and what is happening to our people. In that theme 1, you noted that as far as the performance of PDM is concerned, so far we have registered 63% success in the action areas, and 37% is ongoing. When I looked at this, I was excited because if this is a mid-term review, it means by the end of the term, really we should have achieved this particular thematic area fully. However, in my view, the realities on the ground do not attest to the findings that so far we've given here, and I would urge the implementation team to look very carefully again at this, because out of the 7 pillars of the PDM, we've done well so far in pillar 3, the financial inclusion pillar. But that, to me, is not really the most important pillar per se. There are other pillars that would have formed a strong foundation so that by the time people receive the funds, they know how to use it very well. Especially the pillar of mindset change seems to bedevil us even as we implement PDM. Majority of the people, at least in my area, seem to think this is a reward that the government is giving them, and at the end of the day, somebody receives the money and they are happy to eat it immediately. So when you go back and really look at what the impact is, you are not able to see it. So I think both the quantitative and the qualitative aspects of this particular report need to be looked at. And lastly, I think I'd be happy that the figures be examined still very well. Maybe the detailed report will be happy to look at it, because under that theme 1 of creating jobs, the figures in my view don't seem to add up. They don't seem to add up. I would give a clarification of that, but just take note of that. We can always clarify later. Thank you.
Kindly pass the phone to your neighbor on the right. You have the hand up. Your neighbor on the right.
I thank you so much for what has been inspiring in this hall. I am Chitata James Black, a resident of Ruel, and I'm under Yerocheka's Sabakuns, the vice chairperson. I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much, Bwana Director, for this organization. Mine is about, it is an addition to the challenges. Of course, when I was going through the challenges, there is one which needs to be strengthened, or rather to also be included in those challenges. It's 2 in 1. Follow-ups and sensitization. This, I think, goes once. It goes together. Whereby, like, for example, I can say, there are very many projects. Actually, I thank the government so much. All the achievements which have been shown there are really there. Because for us, we are a voluntary organization, a group that moves in 32 districts in central Uganda, the Yerochekas. As I said, we voluntarily do this. We are not paid. Voluntary, you know what it means. We are not paid, but we do the work. We go up to the ground to see what happens with the government projects, and we will report to concerned officers. But the challenge there is that we don't have enough manpower. That's what I think. That's what we think as zero checkers. We don't have enough manpower as government to follow these programs to the grassroots. Yes, they are there, but they are not enough. Sensitization is the problem. When we go there, we talk to these achievements because of course we see them. But when we begin talking these achievements to the people, they seem as if they are not seeing them. They seem as if they are not there until when you stand firmly to say, don't you see this, don't you see that? Otherwise, we have RDCs, we have other people in the districts, but they are not enough to move in all corners. Therefore, my appeal is, Bwana Director, is that Yellow Checkers is one of maybe the voluntary groups. It is only the challenge that we don't have enough resources to move, but as I said, we try. 32 districts, our structures are there, very well streamed. So we try as much as possible to reach the areas far deep at the grassroots. But if at all, if possible, that we put the yellow checkers on board, officially on board, we can do the job. We can follow up, we have done it, we have moved to hospitals, to health facilities, we have moved to schools, we have moved to parishes, to sub-counties for all of these activities, and we have done a good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, yes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and members around all. We are all talking about transformation of society, and we thank the government for PDM. I'm called Stephen Obayayo Kau Kabarole. It is a very good one and embracing, and it is really talking about the transformation if you look at the 7 pillars. Things are there as per the report, but of course with few hindrances. One of them, the issue of implementing the pillars versus the technical staff. Now that there have been a little halt has affected the implementation and achieving the PDM intended objectives. So we are requesting kindly as government, I wish we could quickly help us open so that we can have the rightful people implementing the government activities using the pillar as a vehicle to transform our societies. Number 2, the issue of job creation. In the manifesto, it was clearly indicating the industrial parks as a vehicle for creating more jobs, and it have been in other places implemented, but in Toro region there's still a problem. We are requesting before the end, I wish we could also look there so that they are open, and then we shall be seeing job created, and this will also reduce on some other few things as related to job creation and our youth more especially. Finally, on tourism, yes, it has been good, but also observing that the local people are missing out. But as you know, it is one of the areas that is bringing a lot of foreign income. I wish government could put more emphasis on the local tourism, and then the others follow. Now, specifically in Kabarole, we are bordering around 3 or 4 national parks, and our animals of recent are attacking our communities. It's a little rampant. Of course, leave alone the crops, but they're also affecting human beings. And of course, this one is a little a problem. We thought as government quickly maybe they could take action. I thank you.
Yes, Deputy Head of Public Service.
Thank you very much, the Director, for this good presentation, but also educative, because we don't tend to know what is government is doing in the field. Honorable Minister, while this was a review process, I think, as somebody said, it's high time we also begin to provide information on the effect or impact, because we are coming to the end of the Nrm Manifesto period. I think if we keep reporting on the interventions of government without getting a feedback from the recipients of the service, we are not telling the whole story. Because in the next election, we need a compelling message from NRM informing the population what it has delivered, not from our side, but from their side or from their expectations. In the presentation, under employment, you mentioned of the skilled youth, I think 2,650, am I right? Now, you need to go further and target. You need to have a kind of rapid assessment of the beneficiaries. You need to establish whether these people who were skilled and trained, have they been able to start their own enterprises and therefore improve their livelihood or their income? You also mentioned the circles. I think the total beneficiary now is over 1 million, according to your presentation. Have these people, having got the money, is it yielding results they expect, that is improving their economic status and also, of course, improving the household income? When you went, you talked about transport and how ferries have been established. You need to find out from the traders, from the farmers, and from the citizens the extent to which they are using that ferry to improve their livelihood, but also to improve their economic status, because that's what we are driving at. And now with the health, you mentioned the CT scan and equipment being given to the referral, which is very, very good. A very good intervention. But to what extent are patients being, problems being attended to promptly by the use of the CT scan machines? The same goes with the judiciary. They've got the magistrates, they've got high pay, they've got new facilities and what. But to what extent is the population happy with the services of the judiciary? I think you need to balance as you go along. I can understand this is a review, but by the end of this manifesto, you will need to provide a compelling message to the population, the message which they understand. I don't think they understand some of these percentages and what have you, but they need a compelling message that actually they are seeing which is impacting on their lives. Thank you.
Can we have the microphone here?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Edith. My name is Edith Turo. I'm the Undersecretary Finance Administration and the Accounting Officer, Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, representing my permanent secretary, who was not able to be here. Chair, I want to thank the presenter this morning of this very good paper, which represents a midterm review for Nrm Manifesto Performance 2021-2026 midterm. Chair, I have general and specific observations. The general observation, Chair, I want to pick from where my head of public service stopped about blowing our trumpet. I think what we need to know is we are operating in a multi-party system. The NRM came to this election on popular vote because of the promises and commitments and undertakings that were made through its contract to the people. I want to agree with the head of service that as we undertake this review at the back of our minds, we need to have the citizen that we committed ourselves to. What do they have in their minds? Is what is on paper and what we're talking about the same as what we see and feel and touch every day? So without appearing to be pretentious, or we have the facts on the ground, but I think the presentation of these facts is very crucial to the kind of population that we are speaking to. It must be able to speak to them. So this contract, Chair, I want to suggest that we need to come out very, very clearly on not just the quantitative, but also the impact. We have to be very realistic on the impact. I think one member here talked about our capacity on the ground to monitor, to evaluate, and to improve what we have been able to assess and also apply it to the realities. The other observation, Chair, other than this being a social contract, we need to know that these undertakings were made prior to the beginning of the term. A number of them were assumptions. A number of them did not foresee the reality that would be post-2021 and this period. And I know that we were, through this review that we did this morning, we restricted ourselves to the text of the manifesto. But I also know, Chair, that in the course of implementation of this manifesto, we had many emerging developments post-election. And I'll apply this basically to the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, and I believe many other ministries. So I thought we needed to pick up this and see, as we start the implementation of the manifesto, what other developments have we been able to realize. And as part of that trumpet, I thought I needed to speak very proudly about our ministry. But then also note that we have not done this alone. And that takes me to the second issue of the cross-cutting achievements. And to ask the question, where's the nexus between the NRM Manifesto and other government planning and implementation and budgeting programs? As we talk right now, Chair, we have what we call the program-based approach, or the one government approach to implementation of government programs. I see that our review was kind of sectoral. It was siloizing again the implementation of government programs. And yet we are in an era where we're talking about thinking together, planning together, budgeting together. So we don't seem to see this coming through in our review. And if we did that, then we should be able to look at the cross-cutting achievements. As we talk right now, the Ministry of Defense is in the process of, if we talk about, for example, infrastructure development, other than not seeing ourselves there, you talked about us as a very visible sector, and I was trying to look for us in the text. I couldn't find us. We are not there. We are very visible, but we are not there. Yes, exactly. If we are not there, then most likely this meeting would have ended as soon as it started. So we don't seem to appear in this whole text. You have a thematic area called security. The only thing we saw there was the forensic lab. And we talked very highly about it. And the security theme only has thematic, one item called the forensic lab and the police. But we made our submission, and I have it here, Chair. And we don't know why it was not captured. So I pray that it is captured there. But my point was, right now we are involved in very many social, economic-related projects. And as we secure our future, Chair, I also know that at the back of our mind, it's really about socio-economic transformation. So we've been very, very centrally involved in the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health projects, and we have made a lot of impact. And I believe we have a testimony across government of the presence of UPDF right now in very many infrastructure projects related to health units, schools. And I want to proudly report, Chair, that we received this directive 21-22 financial year, which was post the election time, so it may not have been predicted then. So this presidential directive came in July 21-22 and immediately started with this building. As we talk right now, we have completed both health and education units, 185 of them, 183 projects across government, infrastructure nature, 102 ongoing. So between 21, 22 and now, we have a total of 285 projects completed and ongoing. 183 completed, 102 ongoing. These are real statistics and making impact in the lives of our children and their mothers and other people. We also flagged one of our flagship projects here, actually two. We saw the Kira project, we saw the Nambole, we didn't see the airport. We thought these were very things to really blow our trumpet about as NRM government now in power. I think we need to bring out these achievements very proudly and very loudly because they are making impact. Chair, Nambole has been reported about. Entebbe Airport we saw and we continue to see. We told it's now a tourist attraction. The PS is here. Many Ugandans are just driving to Entebbe on weekends to just go and look at this project. So we have a lot to talk about. So maybe lastly, production. We are into production as well. Production is also cross-cutting. It came along as a directive as well on the food and feeds project. Right now as we talk, Chair, we are not just feeding ourselves as the UPDF, we are also impacting a lot of lives where these farms are located. We have farms in Kavamba, in all sorts of places across this country. And our veterans who are now organized in circles and are ordinary Ugandans, they are out of uniform, are doing a lot of beautiful work out there contributing to production. through the Food and Feeds project. We are supplementing and complementing the efforts of Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Industry and Fisheries in this area. We are also into beef fattening through NEC. We have quite a number of flagship projects under NEC, under Engineers Brigade, and the Chieftaincy of Production and Welfare, and all these are contributing to a socio-economic transformation, which is the main objective of this government. So I wanted to request Honorable Chair and the presenter, Director, that these achievements are captured as part of the midterm review. They may not have been in the initial document, but we cannot wait for the last moment. Because as is now, we are already back. I think the Minister must be thinking about his political program already. And many other honored members are out there from NRM. I think we need to send out a message that we have made an impact this midterm, and that by the time of the close of the term, we should have been able to deliver on and beyond what we undertook to do under the manifesto. Thank you very much.
Let's hear from our own.
Thank you very much, colleagues, Honorable Minister, Head of Service, and the unit that is conducting or has conducted the midterm review. Apologies for coming in late. Honorable is my name, one and only. I'm here to represent the Permanent Secretary, Minister of ICT, and National Guidance. And as you know, I speak to the rest of you quite often. I have seen that the Minister of ICT and its achievements, its challenges have been well captured. I already see the book here, so I can't make in-depth comment whether you have sufficiently done justice to what it has implemented. But let me just give a broad take as somebody who also travels around the country. The board, the accounting officer of the defense has said they are visible, they do this. Why did the president make the directive after 2021 to shift a number of construction projects from the traditional norms? I think it was because of loss of confidence in the procurement process, in the implementation process, that there was wastage, there was abuse, and so on. Is this how we want to deliver the manifesto, the image of government, that is only UPDF, that should be trusted to deliver projects? Is that what we want to deliver to ask the people of Uganda to endorse? That in this country is only one institution that can deliver services diligently? I don't think so. So I think in the review and recommendation, we need to put a rider in recommendation. What do we need to do? Yes, UPDF could have been a stopgap measure. What else do we need to do going forward? That's more sustainable, that's more acceptable. Only 2 days ago, your office sent officers to Kayunga, and where they discovered 2 white elephants that Professor Kabuntu referred to. One, a pineapple factory that was completed 5 years ago, and another one, a fruit factory, another factory that were completed, but because of local political struggles, an MP, then a minister, had interest, and the project, the factories are both closed. They are not working. I think
Senior, we are missing your voice.
The yellow checkers, the projects that are completed and are not functioning to the desired expectation. 2 weeks ago, I was in Soroti fruit factory, the so-called trade juice. They don't even have storage to store either the fresh fruits or the product. Consequently, they cannot get ISO certification, and as a result, they cannot be allowed in the market. When last did the President talk about trade juice factory? When was it completed? Almost 7 years ago. Is that a government that actually works and responds to public concern, like the deputy head of service, Madam Nrm has said? I think it's not. When you listen to the media, where I am 100%, how many of you would feel courageous to go on any public media platform to articulate this so-called achievement? Why do you think the ground is hostile? And none of your ministers, not very many of your MPs, not very many of your 120,000 presidential advisors can pick the courage to go and face the public and enumerate these achievements. So if we are unable, we are fearful to speak about the achievements in public, are we really convinced that these are the achievements? Or we are like that proverb, or in things fall apart. The lizard that jumps from the Iroko tree and falls to the ground should praise itself if nobody sings its praises. Why do you think the ground is hostile? And this ground has been hostile for a while. You remember Nrm was wiped out in Buganda. President Museveni was wiped out in Buganda and Busoga. How many of you can feel courage to go and speak about the achievement of the last 2.5 years? In Busoga, to the people who said you have not done infrastructure, you have kept them in poverty because you shifted the industrial base of Uganda from Jinja to Kampala because you don't like them. How many of you can feel courage to speak about the sugarcane growers and the prices in Busoga? How many of you? So I think there's a sense in which I see that we are not very serious. We are not very honest with ourselves. If there are these achievements, why are we not speaking about it? Finally, and then I think, if we are convinced that we have made these achievements, can we find a module to go and articulate these achievements with facts, persuasively and consistently, so that by 2025 towards the end, you can pick the courage to stand and campaign for NRM. Thank you very much. Chairman, thank you very much. I felt provoked by my brother here. We are completely convinced that what is reported is accurate. There is no doubting, because it's not that we have read it here. We also have alternative sources of information which we have, which confirm what is reported is correct. Now, for not being able to explain to the public, yeah, maybe, yes, the communication strategy might need to be improved, but for factual information is correct. Also, for reasons like you have mentioned, NRM was not voted out of this central region because of non-performance. There are other reasons, not related to performance, but for performance of what was promised, it was done. Equally, if industrial shift from Jinja to is forced by economic forces which you can see and you can explain, how can NRM be held responsible for forces which are outside? They are just outside the control of anybody as part of economic transformation. Just look at economic history, that's true. So I think I agree with you on your last point. that we must find a communication channel that shows our conviction of what we have done, and we should be able to convince others to believe what we have done is correct.
Thank you very much. Without, let me just receive a comment from PS, and then one back to the, just three, and we close this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony. I would also like to add my voice to thank the Manifesto Implementation Unit for a job well done. I would also like to believe that, like the Director explained, that this is really a summary. And I haven't had a chance to look at the detailed reports, but I'm sure there is much more to report about the achievements. I wanted, Chair, to briefly comment on what was raised by the Cabarole, to say two things. One, that government has prioritized domestic tourism, and this became even more critical when we were hit by COVID, because I think everybody now realized that international tourism is very sensitive to many things, and I'm glad to say that just in the year 2023, we have seen domestic tourism grow by over 25%. We have seen Ugandans travel within the country more than ever before. We have received more numbers visiting our national parks, especially, even beyond the pre-COVID numbers, and more than 55% of the visitors have been Ugandans. So it is true that we are supporting domestic tourism. However, I think his point was more about ensuring that the local communities participate. And I wanted to say that we want to encourage the local governments especially to prioritize tourism as they plan. First and foremost, by recruiting tourism officers. We have many districts and cities and municipalities who do not have tourism officers. As a program, we have prioritized money for local governments. We are actually going to give conditional grants specifically for tourism. I hope this time, conditional grants. We are going to give money to local governments and some missions abroad. This money is part of the program budget, and so it is inherent that we will have conflicts. But we are also working very hard to minimize. It is almost impossible to eliminate these conflicts, but we are trying all sorts of ways, electric bridges where it can work, trenches, and so on and so forth. But we need a lot of support and cooperation of the local government, especially in terms of sensitizing the local communities to support conservation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's have a few
Thank you, MC. I think like one of the points that was also provoked Mr. Paul that just make two responses. One is about the use of the EPDF. EPDF, I don't think is an includer. The PPD Act is very clear on one of those effective modes of implementation of works, projects of works nature, and provides for a method called force account. Force account is where you have a labor, under the law, but you procure materials under normal process, and you do that every day. So EPDF is not just coming out of blue, it's provided for by law. And I don't think that President introduced this as a means of course it was not addressed, but I think it was seen as the most efficient means of producing these works, both in terms of time, cost, and quality. So we are doing a service, and like I said, Chair, I think we need to come out of these silos and stereotypes. begin to think broadly as government, one government. Because if I have a capacity in UPDF, why should I go procure a private person if I can do it myself? So I think Chair, one of the former should applaud the UPDF and encourage every sector to make use of our capacity because we have it. And we can attest, the users can attest to what we are already using right now. Quality, cost, time, everything is in place. And UPDF is not a stranger to government. And it's going to be here for some time, I think, until this starts. Yes, so it's not, it's sustainable. Because we're saying it's sustainable. I think it is very sustainable. Number two, I think Mr. Pondo also just passed an indictment against himself. For the reason these things are not known is there's a communication gap. And I told Chair that after every cabinet meeting, the following day will be media day. And Mr. Pondo used to invite any minister on subject of either national interest or popular subjects to come and speak to the country. And UPC is doing a great job. It's all over the country. We have all sorts of press, radios and televisions. I think there's a lot to talk about, but I think we need to coordinate our message, package it, and deliver it to people. We have the news, the media center is available. I know it's coming together, the PSICT, but inside of the media center, which is the now. Central government communication. So I pray that we put it in our midterm review. Maybe I will law performing something. The communication is something that we need to do.
Thank you very much.
My name is Clever Nicholas. Others call me Chikwaya. I come from Gayaza, Wakisha district. Of recent, the NRM was trying to update the register, and before that, I was involved in mobilizing the NRM supporters, at least mobilize the community and get people on board. But one of the things we discovered is that actually our people do not know the activities that the NRM has actually offered to them. How I pray, Mr. Director, that some of these review meetings come to our sub-counties and hear what people have to say, and that's when you discover how ignorant people are about the programs that you actually implementing. When I found out from our Nrm account, I found actually the government has already provided most of these programs, but they're not coming to our villages. The very people who are the recipients are very ignorant. And being in a region, for example, Wakiso, that is opposition interested, where our leadership are hell-bent on punishing, underscoring what the Nrm government is doing, I think there must be a deliberate effort from you, Mr. Director, that we come to talk to our communities without getting, because I hear you're getting people from National Planning Authority, which I think they also get information from the districts, the district heads. But I can tell you that our people do not know that actually, I discovered that actually the president gave money to somebody to help the informal sector. But the money was taken into money lending. And I get when you cannot get such kind of report. But for you, you capture that, in Gayaza, workers, you have the machine. But people are not. They are not receiving these services. How I pray that you will guide us, more so as who are in this volatile region of Wakiso, How do we deal with opposition leaders who are frustrating the government projects? We need an answer from you, sir. You guide us, and I can tell you that for us on the grassroots, we definitely ensure that how we guide us is how we shall actually enforce. Because I find it sad to see that the government has put these things near our people, but they're not receiving them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Jane Francis Kagaidiara, DC Zimbabwe. I just wanted to comment on agriculture, commercialization and the industries. How do we help the community to ensure that actually, how do we evaluate the manifesto in terms of implementation to our people? I have two comments. One, the hindrance of something that is hindering us to implement the manifesto. The first one, as we very well know that agriculture is one of the bases in the country, mainly under improving household incomes. In a district where I'm working, Zimbabwe, it is a district where many people engage themselves in animal production. But there are issues that are affecting the people whereby they cannot see that the government is putting in an effort in agriculture. First of all, people can be imposed on a quarantine for over 3 years because of the FMD, foot and mouth disease. Someone whose animals can get sick without a vaccine. They impose a quarantine. The ministry does not do anything to provide vaccines for the people. And at the end of that day, we feel that people are helped. I actually concur with the head of public service. The manifesto must go direct to the community. But think about the counterfeit pesticides. Do you think anyone can feel that there is something done whenever you go around the market, you cannot get good drugs for the ticks? We cannot. We need to mind about that. Then another one is about the road works. Actually, the government provided road units to the districts, but rehabilitation is becoming a problem. Maintenance of those road units. You find once the grader breaks down, the cost of rehabilitating it is higher than the cost of constructing a road. Really. So you find that by the end, the wananchi cannot be helped. Then on the side of health, I think it is high time we started putting more emphasis on prevention. We need to look into the household hygiene. Because today, the National Drug Authority can bring the drugs, but immediately when you reach the hospitals or the health facilities, the way people consume these drugs, they cannot spend even 1 week. We need to revisit back and put emphasis on the prevention. We need to support these health assistants so that they are facilitated well with the transport and intensify the household hygiene prevention to ensure that we reduce some good number of people who access the health facilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I know each one of us has a comment to say in time, and we really want to manage this whole process and to really bring it to a close. Those that have comments, kindly write them on the sheet. We shall be able to receive them, and then we shall take them forward to enrich this whole report. But I really want to thank you very much, and I know this has been an intriguing exercise. It has raised a number of issues to take on. Issues of communication, of course, you've raised issues on health, agriculture, road units, so many issues to take on, and we are very alive to the comments, and we are very much willing to make adjustments where necessary. Thank you. And the issue of communication is really pertinent, but as you go to communicate, you need to have what to say there, and this exercise helps us to package what we say. Because very many people go with opinions, which are not usually factual in nature, but we are actually helping to provide some facts to enable you kind of discuss better on those platforms and ensure that people get to the people what is happening now. Director, I want to thank you and invite you to come on and what have to say.
Thank you very much, Martin. Please join me to clap for yourselves for the comments you have received. Maybe before I proceed with the comments, because I don't want to take a lot of time, one of them were observations. Letter of service, I want to bring to your attention that at the launch, we have invited all permanent secretaries to come and be part of the launch. Unfortunately, that day, I think there was a PSC meeting. We are not communicated well. So we missed the presence of the PSCs, and we got an apology at 12 o'clock. Now, on this one, which should be a validation, we again extended our invitations to the permanent secretaries, who are chief accounting officers, to be here. And I will say that I have not received any apology from the permanent secretary. That's why they are not here, apart from my boss, the secretary, which was the president, who is represented by the undersecretary. So I thought that would also go on record for you to take note. And on that note, I want to request this whole team here, perhaps for you, to spare time and come and listen to us. Because like I said this issue of the manifesto has two big dimensions. One of them is the political and the technical. The technical part is that, like I said, when these commitments cross over to government, they form blueprint for service delivery. The second aspect is that now demands that the planning, the budget, and the implementation must be mindful of these commitments for the government in power. And the very reason why we thought the presence of those technical people here would, I'm not, where I come from and how I was brought up, I'm not supposed to relent, but at the same time, I'm also not supposed to, I'm supposed to respect my seniors. But I want to say that I don't know why they could not join us for that. And I want to thank you for being an example. Secondly, allow me to thank you, all of you, for your inputs. To me, the starting point is that I realized that everybody was listening. Because I could see how now everybody was putting up his arm to make a comment. At first you were shy, but now you were coming, getting excited, yet we were winding up. So, the manifesto unit under the presidency has a specific mandate. And part of the issues that were coming up here, we are now trying to take us outside our mandate. And I will say this, that I think it is Honorable Kamon who mentioned it, that for us, we have not shied away from telling you how far this business is going from time to time. Whether you want to hate us, whether you want to like us, but we shall be there to inform you how far we have gone, year in, year out. So, as far as I'm concerned, and I believe my senior head of service knows this, she was part of the senior people in our presidency when they were adopting this mandate. For us, we are there. Now, when it comes to issue of disbursement, and I will start with this, that you see, it is also important for people to communicate what they know. First and foremost, when we go into these campaigns and people receive manifestos, they keep them. They don't read them. You know, they become part of the wardrobes and bookshelves. They add a sticker, but they don't know that there is a message meant for them. Now, when the campaigns are over and we get into government, then people rise up. It's only the president, in fact, in the past, if you had realized, who would always come up and say, no, this is ABC, this is ABC, this is ABC. And people now were right saying, but we are bored. We are tired. Why is this man telling us the same story? But the man was telling you that this is what I promised you. And this is how far I have gone, and this is how far I have not gone. So when he brought me there, and my team, we have also tried to reduce that burden for him by trying to make sure, first, we have what we call leadership retreats. And through these leadership retreats, when we invite you, we give you the manifesto. We tell you what was in the manifesto. It is very, very disturbing. You call these leaders and you ask them what are the thematic areas in the manifesto, and nobody can tell you. What are the interventions that were promised under this each manifesto, and nobody can tell you. And they will tell you that we are for the Nrm, and this is what people should have. So when I see some of you here saying, you see people don't know, what is it that they don't know? So, on our part, we have made sure that the center, the government at the center, is very informed, and it is obligatory, it's mandated that from time to time the center reports to us on how far we are moving. And through those periodical interactions and demands, it has now made the center appreciate, because they know like now everybody, you receive calls already. Oh, manifesto week, Bashasha, what is going on? To me, that is a very big score. Very, very big score. For people to start now knowing that we are going into May, there is a manifesto week, and therefore there is a need to prepare for going to inform the citizens. This is where we are. So those leadership retreats I was telling you, we have been conducting the whole country. First of all is to engage the people to appreciate what was in the manifesto. The second objective is now to bring the center, which is responsible for these policies and the budget disbursements and the implementation, to share with them, because most of the implementation is done there, but we are aware that this is what is going on. To share with them that this is where we are. And what we have done to be a bit more smarter is that if we call a team from northern Uganda, where we are saying this is West Nile, actually, or Lango, or supposedly we decided to deal with West Nile alone, we shall tell the center when we are going to meet them that customize the achievements of West Nile. So that it doesn't make sense for me to go and start narrating the West Nile man person. You see the school I have built in Charjindi in Shemi district. The man needs to know how many seed schools are in Zombo. He needs to know how many center trees are in Nebi. That's when he will be, that's how he will start appreciating the manifesto. So what am I saying? That the manifesto is not here, it's not in Kampala, it is with you. But it's just that because when you think there is a manifesto unit in Kampala, therefore, the manifesto is where? So when it comes to communication, what have we done beyond these retreats and reforming the agenda? Of course, through that, the information we are giving is to enrich the existing information on what is going on in their respective areas, what is the status, if there are any new things that are coming, and people know. And through them, they will also tell us, no, you man from Ministry of Water, you are telling me there is a dam here, but it doesn't exist in my district. And we are able to say, PS, Ministry of Water, when we come back, we make these reports. We were getting these people, and they are saying there is a dam in Nebi, but the leaders of Nebi, the chairman, the RDC, the cow, the dam doesn't do what? Beyond that, we also go and do what we call physical inspection, monitoring. We are in these areas, resist and engage these leaders. So, in terms of communication, of course we cannot be everywhere, like we say. And I'm glad that my senior comrade, Ofono Pondo, has raised this. We must agree that the communication of government is dead. It's dead. We are not communicating. There is a lot that has been done, but little has been done what? Said. And that's why we have had this challenge of the opposition, like you are saying that maybe there is nothing that has been done what? Has been done. Whereas there is a lot that has been done. So, for us, through our frontline officers, and these are the offices of the resident district commissioners, RCCs, we issued what we call communication guidelines. And part of those guidelines include content. So if you are another DC, you are of Usheni, how many sub-counties does Usheni have? Toro. How many of those has health center 3s where they are built? 3. So what percentage is that? Are we there? So that percentage will tell us that in Usheni, as far as the 6 and our policy commitment of having every health center in each sub-county, this is the position. And this is how we do part of our assessment. So, the RDC at the same time, by rule, Mr. Ofono Pondo, provided that within the law of broadcasting law, government must be availed 1 hour of, government business, talking about government business. So, the RDC is the chief coordinator of that airtime. But he's also, is not the owner or a monopoly. He must also engage the other leaders. And they are informed, they are aware of this. The chairman, the technical people, in case there is an outbreak of Ebola, the RDC may not be a person with a health background. You need to invite the doctor to come and explain what is Ebola, how does it attack people, how can they make preventive measures. And through that, we expect that all this information is regularly passed on. The chairman of the district is aware of the district development plan. The health center is there, which we want to build. The seed school is there, which we want to build. The water we want to move there is there. This road equipment you are talking about is there. The road fund money that has come is known. So there is no reason why we should be in this kind of situation why Ofono Pondo is asking us who can go and defend. There is nothing to defend because every information is already there. But he is right. Because at one point or at one level is that there is some level of laid back. We don't want to come in confidence and talk about these things. And of course, when it comes to the civil service side, then we have the civil service standing orders that broke. But we are in an information age. Maybe head of service, this is an area we need to amend and allow people to talk. Because we are in an information age, if you don't talk, social media will talk on your behalf and will remain reactive. So maybe it's an area we need to look at as government and see how best we can help in areas of communication. So, for us in the manifesto largely is to whip and disseminate. And we have tried our level best to make sure that is done. So without going further, I wanted you to clap for the manifesto unit for that kind of activity. So that is ready to rest. Now on the issues that have been raised, many of them have been observations. And we want to thank you for the observations that have come across. And I can assure you that we will capture these issues. Head of service, I want to thank you because for you are guiding us on how to improve the quality of the information we are putting across. And my technical teams and the various people that participated in this activity are here. Please pick what the head of service has said and maybe how we improve. If we miss on this one, maybe in the final analysis as we get into the close of term, it is something we should not miss. That we should now probably, as we talk about these interventions, then let's also look at the impact that this could have caused. If we have built all these schools, all these seed schools, how has it helped on the access Has it helped people to seek these services nearer? What are the literacy rates within these given areas? So that maybe the citizens can appreciate better. I also agree with you that actually we tried as much as possible to minimize being theoretical in this report. And that's why I was trying to give examples to support these statistics. Professor Kamuntu knows because he was the chair of this document. But what he gave us was a qualitative document. So Chisare, when we say we are going to bias on quantitative, he gave us a qualitative document of which we are trying to. You see, in these manifestos, sometimes they give political statements. We shall establish Uganda Airlines. How are you going to measure that? Is it by expanding Entebbe Airport? Is it by putting up a boat? Is it by buying planes? How are you going to measure establishment of a national airline? So these are the kind of things we deal with, and we try as much as possible to see. So in the process of that, when the planes come for us, we say, okay, I think we are somewhere, and we give a tick. So in a way, that's how but we can be able to explain, because largely we do assessment tooling. Our tools are largely assessment. And we are able to, because the manifesto is largely an output document. And that's why many of you are asking me, yes, Bashasha, you are telling this, but what is the impact, what is the outcome? For me, if I am in Obusheni and they said they are going to build the seed school in Chabjimba and I'm there and the seed school is there, I tick. Whether the teachers are in, whether the people have enrolled. What I remember is that the government, the party in power promised that there will be a seed school here, and it is what? It is there. So, but I can see they are trying to improve on our mandate to go further on impact. But that one can be discussed. So, RDC Zimbabwe, let me start with you. The issues you have raised, they are very pertinent, but I also want to say that as leaders there, you are the people who will help the citizens to appreciate these things. Engage them. That's your work. That's why we are there. The leaders, if you are an elected leader and you wouldn't want to see your people change, what are you doing in that office? For you, at least you represent the president. At least.
International Labour Day is celebrated every year on 1st May. This day is commemorated in appreciation of the contribution of workers to national development. It is also used to raise consciousness on the importance of promoting and protecting the rights of workers. This year, the national celebrations will be held at Mukabura Grounds, Fort Portal City, under the theme Improving Access to Labour Justice, a prerequisite for increased productivity. Join us on Wednesday, 1st May, as we bring you the celebrations live on UBC, inspiring Uganda.